Hi everyone, Dan from howtocatchanyfish.com. Today I am preparing to take a trip to Bahia Solano, Colombia, and so I thought I would share some of the things that I'll be packing on this trip. These are things that I bring on pretty much every tropical trip, and so I did another video where I talked about the lures I'm bringing, so in this video I'm going to talk about some of the other stuff. So the first thing you got to think about when you go to the tropics is the sun. And so that starts with as much physical barrier as you can muster in terms of your clothing. I like these lightweight long sleeve shirts from Pelagic. This is pretty much what I wear every trip. It has good coverage of your arms. I like to add on neck buff. You can cover your neck with this, your ears, your nose. You can really get a lot of coverage with this. Lightweight, use it all day. If you get too hot, you can dip it in cold water, cool yourself down. Really useful thing to bring. I always have one of these. For my head, I like using a visor, because a lot of heat can escape out of the top of your head that way. This one's from Pelagic as well. Seen a lot of trips, and keeps the sun out of your eyes in the front. I like this as well. For the skin that's exposed that you can't cover, obviously you need some sunscreen. I like these sticks because they're unlike liquids that can open up in your bag and get all over the place. With this, you don't have to worry about that. It's lighter weight. It's easier to get through airport security since it's not liquid, and it works really well. So I'll just bring one of these. When you're out in the sun sweating a lot, you lose a lot of electrolytes and minerals, and so you need to replenish those. Water alone isn't going to do it. So I like to bring rehydration type tablets and powders. So these are tablets from Noon. You dissolve them in water, keep you fishing all day. This is something I'm going to try this trip I've never tried. It's called Liquid IV. Same sort of idea. It's a powder dissolved in water. I usually drink, I try and drink at least 5 or 6 bottles of water. It depends on the conditions and everything. And I'll probably put one of these sorts of things in at least half of them on a typical day. Moving over to some of the non-fishing, or more of the fishing related stuff, I always bring a pair of braid scissors. A lot of times in some of these places that are kind of out of the way, they don't have braid scissors. They'll have a knife to cut line or pliers or something that aren't as good. So I have my own Owner braid scissors. I'll bring a pair of split ring pliers. They don't always have those. Easy for changing out hooks. A lot of times hooks are going to get bent out or you lose a split ring or something. This is a good thing to have. And then I always bring my own pair of needle nose pliers to take hooks out, cut line and retie leaders at night, that kind of thing. It's always good to have your own pliers. Maybe you want to go and fish on your own. It's always important to have pliers. And then it's important to always have fishing gloves, especially if you're going to be fishing with heavy braid, heavy lures. It's very hard on your hands to cast those heavy lines without some protection. Also protects you from the sun, helps you grab fish easier. These are just good things to have. This is from a Japanese company called Smith. And then moving over here, one of the keys to any good trip is to keep your stomach in line. And so for seasickness, I typically wear these scopolamine patches behind my ear. They last for 3 days. I don't have any real side effects. Some people do have strong side effects to them. Obviously, consult your doctor and make sure they're the right thing for you. They are prescription, but they work well for me. The only side effect I usually have is a weird kind of metallic taste in my mouth, but that's not too big a deal and much better than getting seasick. And then sometimes the food can be a little suspect, and even if the food's not suspect, if you're in a new place, new part of the world, your stomach's just not going to be used to the bacteria and the different things that are in the food there. So even if it's well prepared, you might still get some stomach upset. So on the preventative side, I like to take some Pepto-Bismol after any meal that I'm the least bit concerned about. That helps coat your stomach, makes it inhospitable for some of those bacteria to give you problems. This is something I'm going to try on this trip that I've never tried before. It's called Travalan. Travel doctor recommended it to me. This is something you take before meals. It's It's colostrum basically, like from milk, and it helps coat your digestive system before you eat and make it, again, a kind of an inhospitable environment for bad bacteria. Something I brought on every trip for pretty much my whole life is, this is called Po Chai pills. Not something probably everybody's familiar with. You can get them on Amazon. Really, really good for minor upset stomach, whether it's diarrhea, constipation, gas, anything like that. This is really good for it. You'll feel better in about 15 minutes. Highly recommend this stuff. It won't work miracles if you get food poisoning or something serious, but for anything minor, this is really good. Never leave home without this. If you do end up getting the runs, there's this stuff called DiaRescue, which you dissolve in water and drink, and supposedly clears it up in 24 hours. This is the first trip I'm going to be bringing this. Stays good for a long time, so God willing you don't need it, you can bring it on the next trip. And then this is something, this is the last resort. This is something called Cipro. It's a prescription medication, broad spectrum antibiotic, very strong stuff. This has saved a number of trips for me when I came down with something more serious. The great news is it clears it up usually in a few hours. The bad news is it can have some pretty strong side effects, so definitely consult your doctor before considering this, but I bring this on every trip. And then some other miscellaneous things, earplugs. You never know how loud some of these places are going to be. Jungles tend to be very loud. They have a lot of bugs, make a lot of noise. You might have to be sharing a room or a tent or something with someone who snores, who knows. Good to have some earplugs. Always good to have insect repellent. I like to bring the smallest and lightest type of protection I can. So I have these wipes from Ben's. They're 30% deep. Plenty strong enough for most situations. Bring a bunch of these. Or I've got this stick, Repel Sportsman stick, also 30% deep. Very easy to carry. Not going to open up in your bag and get all over everything. You do have to, with this strong DEET stuff, you do have to be careful about handling line because it can dissolve fishing line, especially braid. So keep it away from your line. But you know, a lot of places could have mosquito-borne diseases like malaria or Zika or any of these other things, and you want to get bitten as little as possible. So I like to put this stuff on as soon as I get off the boat if I'm ocean fishing, and probably wear it all day if I'm river fishing or fishing somewhere with bugs. Always want to have some Neosporin, disinfect any cuts. I'm going to be pretty far away from any medical facilities, and so even a minor infection can be serious if it gets infected, or even a minor cut can get serious if it's infected. Always have some Neosporin, some Band-Aids. I don't have those here, but everyone knows what those look like. And then I always bring some ibuprofen just to help with the aches and pains after a long day of popping and jigging. So those are some of the essentials I bring to, I'm going to bring to this trip, and then I bring to pretty much every trip.